The 2026 Denver Fan Expo. I don't even know where to start. It was a good time. I had a great time. Usually at these kind of things, I have a terrible time. Granted, it's almost always my fault. Definitely for me, the most fun thing is the guests. And this year, there were some pretty cool guests. I'm a huge fan of The Boys. The Boys is one of my favorite shows ever. Granted, season 5 did fall off a little bit, but I got to meet some of the cast members, and this is who. Here they are. They're on the screen. Wow. I have a little story for each of them, and also I want to talk about my last Fan Expo experiences that were terrible and how you can avoid a bad one, learning from my mistakes and hundreds of lost dollars. All right, kind of the headliner of the whole thing. This is the main reason we went. We wanted to go for every single one of these cast members that were there. But, you know, this is a very expensive thing to go to. It already costs so like $150 to get 2 people in. Plus each autograph and selfies costing $80 to $100. It's ridiculous. I just want to meet cool people. But unfortunately, we could only go for one person. So we were like, okay, we may as well go for Karl Urban. Billy freaking Butcher, bro. Or, if you don't know, this guy. From a movie called Without a Paddle. I don't know what I was talking about, because while editing this video, I learned that Karl Urban was not in Without a Paddle.
Yeah, he was.
He's not. I looked it up because I went, this guy, and I wanted to put it like a picture on the screen of him in the movie. He's not in the movie.
No, I could swear, though.
It's Anthony Starr. Anthony Starr is who's in the movie.
Oh my God. And we brought a paddle.
We brought a paddle, so when he says, oh, a paddle. The Fan Expo goes for about 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nailed it. And I was going to try to go on Friday. Friday just seemed like the best day available, especially considering my work schedule. I am really bad at choosing how to make 2 things work together. For example, going to Fan Expo and not calling out of work. I managed to technically do both, but I created the worst possible conditions. I wanted to dress like Billy Butcher, going to meet Karl Urban. He's also just a cool character. You know, I went to the thrift store, I got the trench coat, I got this shirt, Billy Butcher's iconic crowbar. I would have got a prop one, but it would have taken a while to get there, and I got my paycheck the day that I was going to the expo, so I did the next best thing and got a real one. Do you have any predictions for how this story is gonna go? I had a very small window to get to the Fan Expo. On the website, I thought, hey, I'll look ahead and see at the schedule and see if it says when Karl Urban is going to be at the table for taking pictures and signing stuff. And there was no information except for the group photo op, which is a completely separate thing from being at the tables. That was at 5:10. I was getting off of work at 4. It was a very tight window, but as long as I got there by like 4:40, I was gonna be fine. I managed to get there at 4:46. No biggie, except for one thing. I had to like go buy my ticket and then activate the ticket and then cross the entire convention center and then locate Karl Urban's booth, which was on the far side of the guest hall. Of course, I did not know any of this. Dressed as William Butcher, walking through the streets of Denver with a very real crowbar, walked through security, made it through the first line of security, past like the scanners and the, you know, like uniformed people. And then they were like, you just gotta go get the prop tagged. And I was like, prop? Oh. And then this is the part where I realized, oh, yeah, what was I thinking? I got to the like second table, which was not a fancy checkpoint. It was just like 2 dudes chilling at like one of those plastic tables, and they just had some like plastic that they would just tie around your props. The guy stuck his hand out and he was like, here, I can grab that. And I was like, oh, yes. And I just stuck it out to him like nothing was, like there was nothing crazy going on, because I was like, oh, I can't act like this is weird or then they're gonna feel like it's weird. And the guy got it in his hand and immediately he was just like, oh, this is real. And my blood went cold. At first I thought it was gonna be okay, because I was like, oh yeah, I just didn't have time to get a fake one. And the guy was holding it and he was kind of wiggling it around, looking at it, and he was like, well, you know, it's nah, you can't bring this in. And I was so close. And it was at that point when I realized it's too late. It is 4:55 by this point. I am missing my window to go meet Karl Urban, because they don't have lockers or nothing there. You just have to go stash it in an alley is what they told me. But I was like, no, I can't. It's just a crowbar. Somebody's pretty liable to pick that up. And then while I was waiting, the person who was like, yeah, you just can't bring this in, in classic Billy Butcher style, dressed the fit, looking the part, got the crowbar in hand, did the toughest, manliest thing I could, which was trying not to cry. And I did, in front of like 100 people. I was sitting there like choking on my words. I was like, it's okay. I just had to get out of there. It was a bad time and it was humiliating. And so I went under a tree and then sat there and just wallowed for a little bit. And then realized, oh, my girlfriend and I both have Sunday off and the Fan Expo still goes until Sunday. So that was on me. I put myself through a bunch of crap and wasted a bunch of time for literally nothing. Okay. But then Sunday came, and Sunday was a great time. And Sunday was also a good day to go, mainly because it's just like the last day. It's not nearly as busy or crowded, and the wait times for everything is much shorter. The downside is that all of the guests are pretty tired and just exhausted from meeting probably like 3,000 people. So that being said, as soon as we got there, the first line that we got into was the one to meet Karl Urban. I wasn't able to get my real crowbar in there, and I wasn't able to find a fake crowbar in time, so we brought the next best thing. A paddle! Sometimes, if you don't have like a selfie, if you're not planning on buying a selfie or anything like that, not paying for anything, you can wait in line for the whole thing, and then when they find out you're not going to buy anything, more often than not, they will not let you even meet the celebrity. That is what has ruined most of my experiences, is going in just to find out and wait in line for like an hour and a half just to find out, oh, hey, I'm not allowed to meet them because I don't have $200 on me for a selfie and an autograph. What if I don't even want that? What if I just want to say hi? What if I just want to be like, hey, what's up? How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? Hey, you come around here often?
Hey, how about this weather? Hey, get out of here. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I am off it today, because the line, saying here, up here is the area where you're going to meet the person. Then the line starts, here, and then squiggles and zigzags up and forth, getting closer and further away. After a good long while of waiting, maybe 30 minutes or so, Karl Urban came around the thing and he went up to us and he I'm gonna put the mic in my lap. He put his hands together like this and kind of addressed everybody, was talking to us. While he was doing that, I feel like I was the only one making eye contact. And there was a point where while he was doing that, he kind of looked over at me and we just made eye contact. And for the rest of what he was saying, he was mainly just looking at me while he said it. So that's right. I'm a good listener. Yeah. And then we proceeded to wait for about 40 minutes. And then it was our turn. Yeah! After around, I don't even know how long of waiting, it was finally our turn. Popped open my wallet, shelled out $150 in cash. And I turned to my girlfriend and said, are you ready? And she said, no. And I said, you're right, me neither. And we both cowered and started crying because we were scared, because Karl Urban is a big actor and he's a really cool guy. My girlfriend and I walked up and he was like, oh, hey guys. And then we were like, hey. And he looked at me and he said, hey, that's a good butcher. I was in that line for a while. I heard him say a lot of things. I didn't hear him say that. And you know what? I think it was a good butcher. Check it out. God. Ooh. Homelander, no. And then I said, oh, thank you. The person who took the money handed him the thing that we wanted signed. The paddle slides across the table and he just looks down at it and he's just like, oh, a paddle. The night before, I was like, damn, I really want to find a way to try and tell him the story of trying to get him with the crowbar and make a joke out of it. And when he said, oh, a paddle, I was like, yeah, I tried bringing a crowbar in on Friday, but I couldn't get a fake one in time, and who would have guessed they didn't let me in with a real one. And then he just didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, that one hurt. I was embarrassed. I felt like a fool. And then it was pretty much just silent from then on. He came around and he took a picture with us. And if you want to know what he wrote on our paddle, he wrote this. He signed it and wrote scorched earth. Scorched earth. Touche, William. You have something I want. Overall, it was pretty cool, and I think the reason he was so tired and just kind of seemed, he just kind of seemed off it, I think that's probably because it was the end of the Fan Expo. It was day 4. He probably met a lot of people, and it probably takes a lot out of a person to meet that many people in one weekend. And I'm sure after it just all turns into one blur. And then the rest of the cast, we felt pretty shy because, we were walking around with this signed paddle from Karl Urban, but then we couldn't even get selfies with them. Right next to Karl Urban was Tomer Capone and Karen Fukuhara, which is Frenchie and Kimiko. We first went and saw Frenchie because at the time his line was shorter. He's actually really cool. We walked up, got 2 fist bumps, and then just chatted for a second. And we just talked about Denver. We were just like, hey, how's Denver treating you? You having a good time? And he said he loved it here and wanted to spend extra time. And we were like, hey, you gotta check out Meow Wolf. And he was like, oh, Don't worry, I'm already doing it. We got another fist bump. It was a good time. And then we went over and talked to Karen Fukuhara. And that was much less chill. I'm assuming she was tired too and just overwhelmed by the whole thing. I wanted to ask the question, you know, hey, what's it like going from a voiceless character to a voiced character for just part of this one season? You know, what was that transition like? And she pretty much goes, and then Tomer Capone steps in. Knocked over the paddle. Tomer Capone steps in and he's like, excuse me guys, I have to steal my Moncour. And then my girlfriend and I were just like standing there just like, oh, all right. And then after she took the picture with Tomer, she like sat back down and just kind of pulled one of these. She was just like, what were you saying? And I was like, oh, just like, yeah, what was it like switching from having no lines to having a bunch of lines? And all she said was just like, oh yeah, it was different. And just that was the whole experience. That was the whole thing. I don't know what to tell you. At first, I felt pretty crappy about that, but then I did not feel crappy about that because we got a fun little souvenir. I waited like 30 minutes or so for this, probably longer. I waited quite a while to get this. This is the banner that they put up behind like the chairs where you're going and meeting them. Like here's the banner and then here's the her. I waited a while for this and I almost got in trouble for it. I swear to God, this guy looked like the Godfather. Some like short guy, hair slicked back, wearing the black suit with like the little red thing in the pocket. Like, and he looked at me and he was like, hey, you're not supposed to have that. Put that back right now. And like started like freaking out and yelling at me. I was like, I got permission to have this. And he just like was like freaking out and I had to be like, go ask the lady in the blue shirt. And he did not want to ask the lady in the blue shirt until like 3 other people had to like chime in and be like, hey man, he got permission. And they had to like chime in with the haven't you people ever heard of. It was people who honestly I'm not even sure saw that I had the permission, but just like were having a stranger's back, which is pretty cool. But we got that. That's pretty cool. If you've seen my backrooms video, you've seen this just leaning against the wall. That's where it's been for a while because this thing is so big we can't figure out where to put it. While I was sitting there waiting for it, I was just walking back and forth in this area, which was pretty much just next to Kamiko and Frenchie, but it was the area where they were sitting next to, and I was just kind of pacing back and forth for a while, just waiting because I had nothing else to do and I didn't want to miss it. And I was just bored. I like pacing and hanging out in one area. But the problem is that I was just getting stared at the whole time, and I accidentally, I dropped the paddle once and it made a loud, embarrassing noise, and I picked it up and shoved it right in my pocket and just stood still for a second. But during that waiting time, Cameron Corvetti and Valerie Curry both came back. I actually really like Cameron Corvetti, not just as like Ryan on The Boys, as like his Instagram presence. He is really funny, and I really like the stuff he makes. I gotta ask him a question. I gotta meet the guy. And so of the many things that I wanted to talk to him about, I asked him, what did you think of the show? Like just as a casual viewer, not somebody who worked on it, but just a casual viewer. What did you think of the finale? Because there was a lot of mixed reviews online. And he said that he liked it. He thought it was cool. And we talked about kind of the online, people not liking it. And he was like, well, yeah, people are just comparing it to projects that it isn't. The Boys is kind of a political satire. For the most part, there's a lot of other things that it parodies and does satire on, but for the most part, it is clowning on politics. That's not what Marvel movies do. People were expecting this big, marvelous finale, and that's just not what The Boys is. And I thought that was cool that we could agree on that, and that was just a really cool moment to have. And then my girlfriend and I both got to talk to Valerie Curry. Valerie Curry plays Firecracker. Firecracker sucks. I can't. But Firecracker sucks. She is extremely frustrating and annoying and is just the worst. So I wanted to ask the actress, hey, what's the secret to doing that? She gave a very interesting response that I thought was cool. She said that Firecracker is shapeless and that what she did 5 minutes ago doesn't affect what she's doing now, and that she's all over the place just doing what it takes to get what she wants or to survive. I think that's really interesting because, yeah, Firecracker is all over the place, and when you think about it from that perspective, she nailed it. She did a great job. Flawless execution. Bravo. I hope that's not too loud for you guys. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back and talk to Tomer Capone. And the first time we were there, he was like, oh, cool paddle. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then I kept it by my side while I talked to him. And then this time when I came up, he just pointed at the paddle and was like, oh, and I lifted it up and he just like kind of grabbed it out of my hand and started playing with it while we talked. And that was when I got to ask him the same question I asked Cameron, which was, as a casual just viewer of the show, what did you think? And he said the most shocking answer that I was not ready for. As of whatever date it was on the Sunday Fan Expo this year, he said he hasn't seen it yet because he doesn't like watching himself, which I think is actually pretty cool. You know, at first I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can understand that though. And then he followed up with, hey, but you're still here, aren't you? I said, that's true. I enjoyed it very much. And I think all of the mixed reviews are because people were comparing it to other things. And then he had something to add to it, but unfortunately I was too busy freaking the hell out because I was talking to this guy that I don't know what he said, but he said something in comparison. He was like, and I was like, comparison's the thief of joy. And he looked at me and I looked at him and we were both like, yes. Oh, yes. What am I? But we got some really awesome and laid back experiences, and I think getting to sit there and just talk with Tomer Capone was really cool because he's definitely like just a really chill guy. And honestly, if the opportunity arises, that's a guy I'd love to just sit and chat with. He seems like he has some interesting stuff to say. But going on Sunday did mean that some of the people we ran into were tired. Some of the booths we went to were out of stock. There were things that we ultimately missed out on because we went on the last day. However, I think I would prefer the rather laid back and sometimes too laid back interactions that we got than to sit there and wait 2.5, 3 hours in a line just to have a really quick, hey, what's up, sign and go. Instead, we actually got to talk to some of these people and have like real conversations. And although my memory is absolutely terrible and I'm sorry for not being able to deliver, it was still a good time. And it was ultimately memories that I will hang on to and that will stick around for me. But my girlfriend and I had an extremely good time, and it was her first con of any kind. So it was really cool that not only did she get to go experience that for the first time, but that she also got to meet a bunch of really cool people and overall have a pretty good, awesome first experience. And in case you've never been to one of these cons or it's been a while since you've gone, I want to give you a quick rundown of some things that you can take care of before you go so you can avoid having a bad time like I have had 90% of the time. First and foremost, figure out how you're getting there. That sounds really simple. Trust me. It's not. Denver is not a very big city, and when this many people come from out of state across the country to go to this one convention, it gets crazy as hell down there. So if you're gonna drive your own car there, figure out parking ahead of time and then figure out how far you're gonna need to walk, because chances are people have paid for parking a while in advance already. If you can't do that, find a free parking lot somewhere just kind of further away and take the RTD bus. It's gonna be like what, $250 for a 3-hour pass? My girlfriend and I Ubered there, so that way we could just get dropped off right in front of the convention center and just go straight in, go do our thing. Next thing, get your money planned. This sounds like another obvious one. Trust me, you got to figure out what you want. If you're going there to meet a guest or a celebrity, you need to figure out, do you want to get a picture? Do you want an autograph? Do you want both? You got to figure out what you want. To get that paddle signed, I had to get the premium autograph, which is pretty much just bring your own thing for them to sign, and that's it. Autograph premium is like $130 on average. That's how you get your own stuff signed with like a custom quote. We did not choose Scorched Earth. Carl Urban chose that on his own, which is pretty cool. A regular autograph is ranging somewhere usually around $70. They have a couple of pictures that are just laid out on the table, and you can just pick one of these like printed pictures for them to sign. And then selfies and photos are kind of tricky. If you get the photo op, it's like a scheduled thing that you go to in a photo booth. I've never done that before. I don't care to. And then there's like at the table selfies, which are usually like $60. Plan for that. The food as well. A ham sandwich, $15, baby. Oh yeah. Welcome to America. Welcome to Denver, actually. If you're planning to meet 2 or 3 people and bring somebody with you and get some food, budget like $500, maybe $600. It is an expensive thing to go to. Also, just definitely, above all else, if you can't buy a $15 ham sandwich, definitely buy a $10 bottle of water, because that water is going to be crucial. It gets freaking hot in there, and God forbid you're wearing just a simple cosplay. Standing in one of those lines is going to have you drenched in sweat. If I were to say anything else, it's advice that my friend Ryan gave my girlfriend and I, which is not to think about it too much. If you meet a celebrity there, you're always going to think about something different you could have said, or something you could have done differently, or this or that. Just enjoy the moment you had, or else you're going to ruin it for yourself. I hope you guys heard Apollo just rolling around and squirming on the floor. He's so cute. Anyway, that being said, thank you for listening to me ramble about the Fan Expo and tell most of a story about meeting some cool celebrities. I really enjoy making videos, and even if they don't make a lot of sense or just overall aren't entertaining, it's a lot of fun for me. I hope it's at least fun for you to watch me have fun. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I put a lot of work into these videos. It's especially a lot of work because I'm just not very good at it. So, alright, well, I'm terrible at recording and I'm terrible at doing an outro. So,